So back in January, I took a closer look at Napoletana pizza or a Neapolitan pizza and just looked at if using double O grade flour really makes a big difference when compared to all-purpose flour. And I wanted to look at the flavor, the texture, and the overall experience when it comes to pizza between these two flours. And funny thing during that video is I was convinced that I had used bread flour instead of all-purpose flour because I thought that's what I had at home at the time. I did realize while doing the commentary for it, and I had to go back and revise what I was actually trying to say, which kind of made the results make much more sense than they were from my initial observation. Anyways, you can check out that video and the comparison by clicking the link down below. However, I did come out clean about that blunder in that video, and then people started asking me about, hey, so what are the differences between bread flour and the double O flour? Well, here it is. And when it comes to pizzas made with these two types of flour, well, take a look here. Can you tell just by looking which one is which? Well, you're gonna have to stay tuned until towards the end of the video to figure out, well, which one is made from double O versus bread, because they are very, very similar. Well, that's what we have this video for, to really see what sets these two types of flour apart when it comes to a Napoletana pizza. And mind you, this only applies to Napoletana pizza or a Neapolitan pizza. It's not a blanket judgment on all pizza types, because depending on the type, a different flour might be better over the other. Let's find out more in this battle of the ingredients. So if you're new here, you've never seen me do a double O video before, well, this is a grading system that Italy uses to really show how finely ground or milled the flour is. In this case, the double O is the name of the flour, simply referring to the level of the grind of the flour, how fine it is compared to other flours. And double O is the gold standard of flour that's used in Italy. And pizzas made with this flour are usually really fluffy, light, and crusty, and usually used to make Napoletana style pizzas. Now, the dough that I'm making today is using a starter, specifically a Polish starter, and while kneading I noticed some key differences between double O and the bread flour dough. And traditionally double O, because of the type of flour it is a bit lower protein content than the bread flour, which has much higher levels of protein, was that it was much easier to get a soft kind of dough with the double O flour with less knead time when compared to bread flour. So bread flour has just higher amount of gluten as well, while the double O has a moderate amount of gluten. And to really get that same elasticity, the softness and the smooth dough that you're looking for in a double O flour for a great Napoletana pizza, you just need much more kneading to get that same kind of texture to the bread flour. And it really takes a village, I guess, in your mind as you're kneading to really see what's happening and then pivot and adjust from there, right? So that you see how much more hydration it needs, how much more kneading it needs, so you can get the same sort of dough, because we want consistent results. And because of the extra knead time, one of these pizzas is gonna be a little bit chewier, which is not a bad thing. Like let's say naan bread. I love when it's chewy. It just adds so much body to it. And if that's what you like in a pizza, then that's great. But one of these pizzas will just have a more crusty and soft dough. And that's just a whole nother type of experience. Anyways, these doughs will ferment for roughly 72 hours. It's gonna be more like 65 because the Polish fermented for about 18 hours before being added into the doughs. And the doughs will roughly stay in the fridge for about 48 hours. Now, while technically bread flour can be pushed a bit further because it can tolerate much more fermentation, I'm not going to do that. Extra work, which you can try and experiment to see if you can push it past that 72-hour point to see if it develops even better texture. And if that helps to really relax the gluten to really give you a softer and elastic dough, which would be similar to a double O flour dough. Which would be similar to a double O flour dough. Now, one big difference that I noticed when it came to baking the pizzas, or I guess broiling it, because that's how I make it at home. I don't have a wood-fired oven, of course, so I do it under the broiler. Is that the regular flour Napoletana pizza did not get great leoparding. Leoparding is just like the black spots that you get all around dotted on the pizza. And it just shows like how the crust is reacting and cooking under high heat. While the pizza that had an amazing leoparding and texture and crustiness was the one made with the double O flour. Well, in this case, check out what happened. So you can see they have risen pretty well, and I'm gonna scoop it out. This mixture down here is made of semolina and flour. Just gonna help to kind of scoop it out, and you can see how easily both these doughs are being spread out. There's really minimal effort, if any, needed to spread it out. Just some cheese, some homemade sauce, pepperoni on one side, and same thing with the other. And we're gonna put that under a broiler. Now mind you, this oven has been heating at 500 Fahrenheit for 1 hour, which means the oven got to 500 and it's been heating at 500 for 1 hour with the stone and the steel. And then the steel has been under the broiler for about 5 minutes. So that bottom is really hot. And it's gonna go right under that broiler as it starts to cook. And that high intense heat is what kind of tries to simulate a wood-fired oven that's usually used to make Napoletana style pizza, except this time it's at home. I turn it once always after about 30 seconds to 40 seconds. Make sure it's kind of cooking evenly. And once I get that browning, that initial color, it goes to the bottom so I can finish cooking the crust. And while that's happening, my second pizza is going in. And I'm sure you don't know which one is which at this point. They really look similar. Now leoparding, just to build further, is the blistering, the dark spots that come up on the crust of the pizza when cooked under high heat. And I think both these pizzas have really similar looking leoparding. I didn't go overboard with it. I didn't let it get too dark. But what we got, the brownness, it's very hard to tell. So it's very hard to tell which one's which still. So what are the differences that I've noticed so far? Well, the bread flour, it took longer to knead to get the same elasticity, softness and all. I also noticed that it took a bit longer in the oven to get the same color, texture, and the leoparding that I'm talking about for the bread flour pizza when compared to the double O flour pizza. But that really is superficial. It's just some time that's extra. Maybe like 5 minutes max. It's nothing. The proof is in the pudding, it's in the eating. So the only way to really tell if there's any proper difference that's notable, that's worthwhile, is by tasting it. And I can tell you which one's which. The pizza that I took out first from the oven was the bread flour pizza. And the pizza that I took out second was of course the double O flour pizza. And here's what stood out. The bread flour had a very satisfying chew on the crust. Very satisfying, a nice initial crunch and then a nice satisfying chew with the sauce, the cheese, amazing. With the double O flour pizza, that chew was severely reduced, but it was just nice and soft and crusty and light. It just felt lighter going into your stomach, you know. And given the person that I am, I much prefer the double O flour pizza. I just liked how soft it is, the crust, and it's still chewy without being too chewy. I love chewy one too. I would eat both. I would be super happy with either. But given the option, I would have to pick the double O flour. In contrast, my wife picked the bread flour pizza, the one that's chewy, because she likes the bread. She likes to feel that she's having a nice thick pizza. While Napoletana is a thin crust pizza, but it simulates a thick pizza because of the chewiness. And it really comes down to that. They're both great pizzas. I didn't find any stark differences between bread flour and double O flour. I guess, hand to heart, if I didn't know which one was which and I got a blind taste test, it would be a challenge to figure out which one is which. I'll eventually figure it out probably, but I might not. And that just is a testament that if you can't find double O flour, if it is a specialty item where you live, don't worry about it. Get the bread flour. It'll give you maybe 90%, 95% close results to double O flour. It's amazing. You'll get amazing pizzas, and that's what we need more in this world. Enjoy your pies. I'll see you in the next one, and let me know what you want to see next at the battle of the ingredients.